There are 87 tools in Adobe Illustrator, which sounds overwhelming, but there are 7 tools that I use to create and design logos. This video will show you the tools that I use to create premium logos in Adobe Illustrator and how to use each one. Basically, this is the only video that you will need to get started designing logos in Adobe Illustrator. First up is the type tool. This is often the first tool that I use when creating logos because I need to type out the business name. Now there are several hidden nuggets within the type tool, one being the type on a path tool. We also can use the character panel to adjust the kerning, tracking, case type, the font size, and this is also where we can find the touch type tool. The touch type tool can be used for customizing individual letters of your type without converting the type to outlines. Therefore, if you need to change the type after you've done some customization, you can by simply selecting your type tool, again by pressing the letter T on your keyboard, and selecting inside of your type, highlighting and changing the type. The second tool is the selection and direct selection tool. I grouped these two together because they're kind of boring to talk about and they go hand in hand. They're used for selecting objects within your workspace. The shortcut for the selection tool, which is going to automatically select every point of an object, is the letter V on your keyboard. The shortcut for the direct selection tool is the letter A on your keyboard. The direct selection tool allows you to select only one point at a time or multiple points at once, but not all. The direct selection tool is great when you need to extend a point of a shape or letter out, or maybe contract it in. Or you maybe want to expand the width of your shape. The third tool is the pencil tool, which you can access by pressing the letter N on your keyboard. This is a tool that I use for customizing the shape of my individual letters. To use the tool, you do have to convert your text to outlines, which means you will lose the ability to edit the type. That is why the touch type tool mentioned earlier is great for simple adjustments like kerning, height, size, rotation. The pencil tool, however, actually changes the shape of your letter by dragging over the letter into the shape that you want to create, and the points then change to be along the path that you drew. So if I want this letter to sort of swirl up, I can select the letter with the selection tool by pressing the letter V on my keyboard, then press the letter N to access the pencil tool, and then click and drag to draw the swirl that I want to make. You can see now that the actual shape of the letter has changed based on where the new points were drawn using the pencil tool. Now after I finish customizing my letters, I always go over them with the fourth tool that I use, which is the smooth tool. Now the smooth tool is a little hidden. I do recommend setting up your own workspace once you've used Illustrator for a while and place all the tools that you use regularly on your own customized toolbar so that you don't have to go digging like I am going to do right now. But I do want to show you how to find it if you have not already set up your workspace. So until you have that workspace created, to access the smooth tool, you will need to press these 3 dots and then find this tool that looks like a pencil with some lines kind of cut through it. If you hover over it, a pop-up will appear that says Smooth Tool so that you know that you have the right one. With this selected, along with your customized letters selected, click and drag over the areas where you used your pencil tool, and you will see that the amount of points will lessen, making the lines and shapes that you drew have a smoother transition. Now the fifth tool is the pen tool. I use this tool primarily when creating illustrations. So for a logo, you may use the pen tool when creating an icon or a submark. Press the letter P on your keyboard and the pen tool will be selected. To use the pen tool, simply click in a spot on your artboard and then click on the next spot where you need a point to be at. If you need to add curves between points, you can click and drag and you will see these handles appear that can be used to adjust the curve. Continue clicking and placing points with the pen tool until you have your desired illustration drawn. To close your path, you will need the last point to meet up with the first point that you created. And when they do, you will see the pointer will switch to a circle. There are some hidden gems within the pen tool as well, but knowing the basics of how to use the tool and create curves will be enough when you're first starting out creating logos. Once you have played around with it some more, you can start using some of those hidden gems. I will be sharing a full video on how to use the pen tool in the future, so if you're not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe so that you don't miss that video once it's out. Number 6 is the shape builder tool, which the keyboard shortcut for is Shift M. This tool is my go-to for combining and subtracting parts of a shape, which I am constantly doing when I am designing logos. So if you have two shapes that are overlapping and you want to combine them, use the selection tool to select both shapes. Then press Shift M to access the Shape Builder tool and simply drag in the area that you want to combine. Alternatively, if you have two overlapping shapes and you want to subtract a portion, you'll do the same thing as before, except this time you'll hold Alt while dragging and you'll see that portion of the shape removed. You can also use this tool for customizing type. For example, adding an offset to your type. So after you've outlined your text by pressing Ctrl-Shift-O, with your type selected by using the selection tool, go to Object, Path, Offset Path, and select the amount of offset that you would like to add. Then with both the offset and outline text selected, you can use the Shape Builder tool and hold down Alt and subtract the portions of the offset that are overlaying the text. Tool number 7 is the Artboard tool. Now I don't use this one for really actually designing logos, but I use it constantly for organizing my workspace, so I feel like it's worth talking about. To access the Artboard tool, press Shift-O on your keyboard and you'll be given a couple of options. First, you'll notice your cursor has changed and you can now click and drag to manually make a new artboard. You can click and input your dimensions of your new artboard. You can click on an existing artboard, hold Alt and drag to duplicate an existing artboard, or you can simply press the plus button over here to create a new artboard in the same size as your original artboard. Now the reason I use the Artboard tool so much, besides the obvious, is for organization. Not only do you need to have your designs on an artboard in order to export the designs, but you also need to keep your workspace as clean as possible while designing, because it doesn't take long for it to get messy with all of your concepts. I always start my logo design by designing in black and white. So I always have one artboard that has the black and white logo version, but even before that, I will often have multiple artboards that have several of my favorite logo concepts on them. I don't like to delete items. I like to keep them in case I ever want to refer back to them. So I will place my top favorite designs onto one artboard, look over them all at once, and then decide on one that I really like and place that one on another artboard on its own. Then once I have this one customized to a point that I like, I'll duplicate the artboard and then start adding some color on this new artboard. Then from here, I'll have a separate artboard for the secondary logo design, the submark, the icon, any illustrations or iconography, and the pattern. Now here's how I use all 7 of these tools together to design logos. I'm pressing the letter T to access the type tool and typing out my client's business name. Then I'm using the touch type tool to adjust the height and rotation of each letter individually. Now I'm pressing the letter V to access the selection tool and selecting all of my type. And now I'm going to press Ctrl-Shift-O to outline my text. I'm going to press the letter N to grab my pencil tool and start customizing the shapes of my letters. Now that I have the rough outlines done, I'm going to grab the smooth tool and drag over the new shapes that I created to smooth out the paths. Now I need to create an icon. So I'm going to press the letter P on my keyboard and start clicking until I create the shape of the icon that I want using the pen tool. I'm clicking and dragging in some areas to add curves to the icon shape, and I'm going to go ahead and close this off by bringing my final point directly to the first point that I made. Now I think I want to add another shape inside of the icon and create a negative space effect. So I'm going to use the pen tool again to draw out that shape and then press the letter A to grab my direct selection tool and select only this topmost point and extend it up some. Now I'm going to press the letter V to get the selection tool and select both of my shapes that I just made by pressing Shift and clicking on both. Now I'm going to use the Shape Builder tool by pressing Shift-M, and while holding down Alt, I'm going to click inside of the inner shape so that it cuts out of the outside shape, making that sort of negative space effect. Okay, I like where this logo is at. I now want to make a secondary logo. I'm going to press Shift-O and select my existing artboard. I'm going to hold down Alt and drag over to duplicate this artboard. Now I'm using my selection tool by pressing the letter V, and I'm going to take the icon and place it next to the word mark to make a horizontal lockup. Now these look good, so I'm going to again press Shift O and press the plus mark to create a new artboard. And here I'm going to start adding some color. Now that was a very quick tutorial on how I use these 7 tools to create logos in Adobe Illustrator. But if you want to watch a more in-depth process of me creating a brand identity, then you need to watch this video right here or this one right here. As in both videos, I create a full brand identity for an actual client. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell so that you can watch the next video just like this one. But for now, until the next video, remember to become the brand and bye!